As human beings, subconsciously, we're always scanning for threat so we can live. But change cuts into that autopilot. And so we have to kind of be on high alert to assess, am I still safe here? Especially within workplaces where we're all putting on masks and sometimes professionalism is a show. When you understand that everybody's just trying to survive, you can't help but approach it with more kind of grace and humility. I find that a lot of leaders, especially very senior leaders, they're so alive, they're engaging people, they are full human beings. And then I see them in all staff meetings and talking to their teams, and I think, where's all the colour gone? AI is fundamentally changing the way we think about ourselves, the way we interact with work. That digital evolution wasn't doing that. It was like an on-off change. As you increase that volume, we would have to change our behavior. There's so much that we would have to adjust our whole bodies and our minds in order to keep this engagement going. And that's what you see with AI.
At Women in the Penthouse, we champion stories that are fearless, limitless, and ageless. But if there's one word that anchors all three, it's change. And that's exactly why today's guest is here. Nissi is the founder of The Growth Hut, a leadership consultancy rooted in authentic transformation. With over 15 years of experience in change management, organizational design, and emotionally intelligent leadership, she has guided leaders across the globe through some of their most pivotal moments of transformation. What makes this conversation one to lean into isn't just Nissi's experience, it's what you can take from it. If you ever felt invisible in moments that matter, or you're navigating change in your life, career, or identity, and wondering how to move forward without burning out, this episode is for you. Nissi doesn't just talk about transformation. She shows how you can humanize it with practical tools. In a world obsessed with noise, Nissi teaches us that true influence isn't about being louder, it's about being clear, courageous, and deeply aligned.
Oftentimes, when we're going through a change, we want to go from A to B. We want to be binary. I'm currently here, I'm going to be there. It doesn't work like that. You have to exist in the in-between. Maybe my job will be threatened. Maybe I won't be accepted. You're right. Maybe people won't accept you. Maybe your job is threatened, but maybe that's exactly what you need to move on.
So get ready for a conversation that just might change your life. Welcome to Women in the Penthouse, the podcast that empowers women like you to live a fearless, limitless, and ageless life. Here, incredible women not only share their personal stories of transformation, but also bring their expertise and practical tools to inspire you to embrace a fearless, limitless, and ageless life. So settle in and get ready to meet women rewriting their stories, and maybe find the courage within you to do the same. So subscribe to our channel today so you never miss a story that could change your life. Because together, we are redefining the penthouse life, where an elevated mind filled with love, compassion, courage, joy that truly creates a penthouse life. So Nissi, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
It's really wonderful to have you here.
Thank you.
Nissi, over a decade, you work with big corporate and individuals to help them to navigate change.
Yeah.
As a change manager. I think that's fascinating because change is something I think most familiar to everyone, but because of the nature of uncertainty, it's also unfamiliar, most unfamiliar. And it's happening every day, every moment. And, to Women in the Penthouse, we have 3 keywords: fearless, limitless, and ageless. And every word is closely related, connected to change. So that's why I'm really excited to have this conversation with you, because you are expert, you have so much experience, help people to navigate it. So yeah, I'm really excited. But before we dive into all the details, can you tell our audience, to someone not familiar with this concept, maybe in the simplest way, what is a change manager?
Yeah. So a change manager is somebody who partners with you to understand what journey you need to go on to get from A to B. And you could say, oh, but change, it happens all the time. Why would I need somebody to partner with me?
Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
the reason is chances are I've done it before. I've seen how and when it goes wrong, and we want to make that transition as smooth as possible. So by all means, you can do change, and people often do change without change managers and without transformation experts. But the whole point of my expertise and kind of my community and the people that do change management with me is to make that transition as smooth and as seamless as possible so that you can be limitless.
Oh, yes, exactly. Yeah, I feel like you are like change manager is like a facilitator for being limitless.
Exactly.
And also fearless.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. You studied literature, actually, English literature
Yeah.
in university.
I did.
But it seems like you find this role quite early in your career.
Yeah.
So is that like a pivotal moment you feel like, oh, it is it. I want to be a change manager.
Yeah. So I always say there's a direct line between me studying English literature and language and change management. And what the link is storytelling. So from a very young age, I've always been blown away by the power of stories to transform us for good or for evil, to put it in really dramatic terms. But I didn't think I'd be able to transfer that to the business world. You know, as a young girl, I just thought this is something that I love. I can kind of go away in my mind and it's a hobby that I'll keep to myself. And then quite early in my career, I graduated and I worked at an organization that was going through a massive transformation. It was a property investment company transitioning to a state agency. And I worked with a really great director at that time. And I saw how he used stories, both the stories he told himself and the kind of the inner dialogue that I was privy to seeing, via his mindset, and also the way he interacted with clients. And I saw at that point, actually, storytelling is really foundational to business transformation. And then it was at that time, I was 22 at the time, I made the decision, actually, I want to dedicate my career and myself to storytelling within the business context. So my next role after I was a PA to that director, I was an operations manager. And so I was 23 in financial services, operations management, and that's where I got my first change management official training. And that's where I saw kind of what was in my head around, okay, so you can use storytelling in business. That's when it was brought together for me around actually within business, we have individuals who we take on journeys via projects and programs. And in order for them to go on that journey collectively, we need to have a really strong story. We need to have a journey. And part of that story will be, the training, it will be the communications, it will be the way your manager speaks to you. And so as change managers, we help in the crafting of that story via those different elements so that as an individual, you can more easily connect the dots around this is where we are as a business now. This is where we're going. And, mentally, okay, I can see how we're going to get there. So for me, between literature and change management, there's a very firm connection. And I feel really blessed to have seen that connection so early on in my career.
Yeah, that's interesting. When I think about change manager, I thought it's more about the process, like a system, right?
Yeah.
But when you say storytelling, it's more on the like communication, like the story we talk to ourselves
Exactly.
and to people around us.
Yeah.
And so how do usually in our early career, it's hard to really determine to do something. So what else, like apart from the fascinating storytelling part, what else you find this role or make you decided to be committed to this career?
I've always really just loved talking. It sounds so...
So it's a job that involves a lot of talking.
Exactly. I've always loved talking. I've always loved connecting with people.
Yeah.
And so people management came quite naturally to me. The performance management part, so when people are not doing so well, that I struggled with, but I had kind of really good mentors at the beginning of my career who have helped me with that. And it just felt perfect. So one of the kind of mental blocks I had to overcome when I was younger is feeling like work had to feel like work, you know? So I'm going to a job. I have to be serious. I need to grind. It needs to feel painful. And I remember...
That's so interesting. Yeah. Exactly. Limited belief, right?
Exactly. Yeah, it was
we
a
were told
massive
like
limiting belief.
Job is always should be painful.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I saw that actually I'm doing this work. I'm managing people on really big transformations, and I'm enjoying it, and I'm making money, and that's okay.
Yeah. And you started it, that was 2010 around.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And now it's 2025. Obviously, it's totally different being a change manager. So I know we can talk about so many difference, but I want to ask, maybe on a deeper level, what, from your perspective, what has fundamentally changed at your work as a change manager in 2010 versus now?
The pace of change. When I graduated, programs and projects. So you'd have a business and they set out their 5-year strategy or 10-year strategy. And across those 5 years, they'll say, okay, we're going to have these 3 major programs. It might be, okay, we're going to transform our technology and we're going to commit 3 years, 4 years to doing that. It might be, we're going to review our policies. We're going to commit 2 years to doing that. Now, the pace of change, number one, most organizations have no less than 100 projects going on at one time. There's several projects going on. And number two, business as usual is there to be challenged. Continuous improvement is part of the culture. So in every conversation, it's around how can we do this better? How can we change? How can we keep up with the tech? And so what you see is that whereas change management before was dedicated to maybe 3 big projects and you've got all this time, years to work it out. Now, change management, number one, it's everybody's responsibility. Whether you consider yourself a professional change manager or Tom, Dick or Harry in your team, you need to understand the way change works because you're being affected by it every single day. And number two, what that means is how we approach the workplace. There's high levels of anxiety and workplace stress because change, with it comes pressure and, fear of the unknown. So generally within organizations, you've got a higher level of this anxiety and uncertainty. So when you're approaching change as a manager, and I don't mean as a change manager, I mean as a team leader, having that understanding and compassion around your team is contending with so much. So anything that you can do to try and lessen that and maybe kind of bulk the change together as opposed to every couple of months doing something new, everybody has to have that awareness. So yeah, there's it's night and day. The difference between 2010 and now, completely different.
And the pressure could be like compounded, right? It's just amazing. But at the same time, I think you may know my next question is, what is fundamentally the same?
And the thing that's fundamentally the same, number one, is our response to change. So instinctively, we will all balk at change and think, oh, wait, my security is being threatened here, or is my job being threatened? There's that part of it. But also number two, that opportunity for camaraderie and community and binding together when things are tough, is that opportunity is massively there. And for me, certainly, when I look back on my career, the people that are my lifelong friends are the people who I went through something with. We went through this tough project, or do you remember we all had that terrible manager, whatever it is. So when you go through a struggle together, the capacity for deeper connection that creates is really, really wonderful. And I think that also connects now to people want to feel like their work has purpose, and so you have people with portfolio careers. Maybe they're not just doing one thing full time, but they're doing lots of these little things that bring them joy. So there's some people who are even inviting more change into their, day to day, how they do their work, because they want to feel that more purpose and commitment to what they do. So fundamentally, I think it's still human beings that are going through change, and we all have that capacity for deeper connection once we're able to get through that initial kind of threat response.
Yeah, yeah. You mentioned that's actually the key word for change, like how to humanize it.
Yeah.
Because as human beings, we're actually still the same. Like you said, it's fascinating. I think we will dive into details in our fearless part,
Yeah.
because when we even talk about change, the word, our body had reacted
Yes.
with the word resistance, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely. Because your body is always scanning. As human beings, subconsciously, we're always scanning for threat. And, that's the way we're wired, so we can keep ourselves safe, so we can live. The
That's a
aim is to
survival
live.
mode, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
So we're constantly scanning for threat. What doesn't feel familiar here? So your brain, when things are familiar, which is why you can drive somewhere or you can walk somewhere, and if you've been taking that route for 10 years, you'll think, wait, how did I get here? Because your mind is switched, you're on autopilot. But change cuts into that autopilot. And so we have to kind of be on high alert to assess, am I still safe here? And so I think one of the breakthroughs for me has been when you understand, especially within workplaces where we're all putting on masks and sometimes professionalism is a show, when you understand that everybody's just trying to survive, you can't help but approach it with more kind of grace and humility, when you understand that
That's
everybody's
an
just trying to
important
get by.
perspective for
Yeah,
compassion, right? And to show empathy to other
exactly.
people.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's not only us, it's our mind want us to protect us,
Yeah,
or subconscious want to protect us. Yeah.
absolutely.
But back to 2010, I think you mentioned at that time it's also kind of the digital wave, right? So you handle a lot of case, like from paperwork
Yes.
to the digitalization. So how is the work by then? Like it's kind of like now we're facing the
Yeah.
AI, so we have this expanding fear almost every day. Yeah, but by then, what do you see people react to that wave, and what kind of interesting case you can share with us?
Yeah. So around that time, I was working on a massive transformation program where one of the leading financial resolution services were transitioning all their paper files to e-file. So instead of sending paper complaints or whatever it would be, we were receiving emails, but even we had to set up an email mailbox. And for some people, they might be thinking, oh, why was that a program? But when you're setting up a mailbox to receive millions of emails, that needs to be sent out to caseworkers, and the right caseworkers need to receive those cases. It was a massive undertaking. Now, the difference between that and this is paper to email. It's one change. All you're doing is, at the moment, we receive this document in hard copy, and now we're going to receive it in soft copy, which means that we can maybe manipulate it differently. It also means that several eyes can view the same document at the same time, but that change is quite contained. AI isn't contained in the same way. So AI is fundamentally changing the way we think about ourselves, the way we interact with work, is even taking some of that work forward for us. That digital evolution wasn't doing that. It was quite literally, okay, you currently receive it like this, you're now going to receive it like that. It was, what do you call it? It was a, like an on-off change. AI isn't that. There's different levels of transformation that we're going through in the AI space. And
Do you have any analogy for us to?
the only way that I could think of it, and that's why I was trying to think, okay, it's like the difference between on-off versus increase in volume, right? So the digital to paper, the e-file to paper to e-file, sorry, is light switch on, light switch off. It's either or. AI, there's different gradients. So it's more like the switching up of a volume button,
Okay.
There's some people and some organizations that are slowly adopting AI, okay, let's just make people aware of what it is, and then there's other organizations who are saying, you know what, let's make this whole department AI enabled, and what it also, the difference between AI and the reason why I'm using the volume example is depending on how loud music is. So imagine we were playing music in here now and it's just playing softly in the background. Yeah, it sets the mood. It's a different kind of atmosphere, but we can still communicate. We're still able to talk. As you increase that volume, we would have to change our behavior. Maybe we would have to come in closer. Maybe we would have to speak louder. Maybe it might put us under greater stress. There's so much that we would have to adjust our whole bodies and our minds in order to keep this engagement going. And that's what you see with AI. So the deeper you interact with AI, the way you think about your work, the way you interact with your colleagues, the way you set up your day completely has to change.
Yeah, I know you will help us to use some of the framework to understand more later when we talk about that real change, today's change part. So yeah, thank you. I think we will go into the keyword part. We talk about fearless, limitless, and ageless at different sections. So we start from fearless. So starting from the question I ask every guest, and from your personal definition, what is being fearless?
Big question. And for me, being fearless is, number one, having you have to acknowledge that there's something that you're scared of, you know? And so to number one, be aware that there's something that's bigger than me, or that feels too big for me to address. And then the number two is, even though I'm aware of this being bigger or this being all these things being against me, I believe that there's something within me that can face into it anyway. So I know it's a feeling the fear and doing it anyway. You know, that's what it is for me. So if somebody's not really scared of something, or it's not too big, I wouldn't say that person's fearless. You know, that for me isn't what fearless is being about. It's really about having that understanding that for X, Y, and Z reason, I'm too small or this is too big. And still, I believe that there's something that I can add to this. That's what being fearless is for me.
That's beautiful. You used a comparison. That thing is big and I'm small, but I still have this strong power.
Yes.
To believe it. So I will add one question to you. So do you believe there is fearless change?
Yes. Massively.
Because you mentioned an interesting point. Actually, I think a lot of our guests mentioned, like, fearless is not like without fear, right? It's with the fear, but doing it anyway. So yeah, I just want to ask, like, so from your definition, what is kind of fearless change?
Fearless change for me. Okay, so first let's break it down. So do you mean
I love that.
Yeah. So when you say fearless, do you mean change without fear, or change where you've overcome the fear? You know, because fearless can have...
That's a good... That's why I want to clarify.
Okay. So yes, I think there is change without fear. So where you don't have to be bold and where you just have to get on with doing it. I.e., I usually get the 7:45 train. I'm now going to get the 8 o'clock train. It's like, okay, it's a change, you know, it is what it is. I think it might be slightly irritating, but I don't think it would necessarily there's not really anything you have to overcome other than your own irritation, you know? So I think fearless change usually comes when it's, you know, kind of routine things that happen in our lives. Now, the other fearless, as in because you've overcome that change, I think that's the change that this podcast talks about really, really well, where people have had to face into seasons or situations or themselves. Oftentimes it's us facing into ourselves and overcoming limiting beliefs, overcoming culture, overcoming what has been said to us around what we can and can't do. Facing into that, writing a new script for ourselves and saying, no, I'm not going to believe that about me. I'm going to believe this about me and about my life, and then changing anyway. You know,
it's about the rewrite the story. I back to what you said. I really love it. Like, even you feel you're small, but you will do it anyway. That make you really you feel I'm bigger than that thing. That something bother me or block me, right? Yeah. So we actually discussed this earlier. Like, change is all about there's so much uncertainties and fear. So you have first-hand experience, like either it's company or individuals. So what are the real fears about change?
Like
if you think about, maybe some case you think, this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
You're even shocked or surprised to, people will have that kind of fear about change.
One thing that I find is usually the change that you see on the corporate level. So say, for example, there's a whole organization, and usually organizations have identities, i.e., we're a tech consulting company. So we're stern, we're firm, whatever it might be. But even that organization is made up of individual personalities, and they've carefully crafted the culture. So one thing that I believe is that what you see within individuals, when it comes to organization-wide change, it's just amplified, And when it comes to the things that people are scared of, it's status. Is this change going to impact the way that I'm viewed and the power that I've accumulated over the years? It's certainty. Am I still going to have a job? If they're moving departments or things are going to be moved, what does that mean for my job and how long I'm here? It's autonomy. How much of a say am I going to have in these changes, or going forward with my work? Will it mean that I'm going to be micromanaged? And so those are the themes that I see around change, and they're dressed up in different outfits, they come in different guises.
Yeah.
But when you strip it down, it's that, status, certainty, autonomy, you see them come up over and over again. And a great example of that is even in mergers and acquisitions. So when you're having entire organizations being acquired or merging, you've got both organizations thinking, okay, which of our processes are going to stay the same? Who's still going to be a manager? So yeah, what you see individually is just kind of magnified on the kind of corporate level.
Yeah, I can visualize that. That's tough when you walk into a room as a change manager. Like people see, she's talking about change.
Absolutely.
So I can see, or you can feel the resistance from people individually. So if at that moment, what kind of things you will say maybe first to them, or try to reframe the thoughts or reaction?
So first, I just go in and listen. I always say I'm an expert in the way change is received and in kind of tools and techniques that we can use to make it smoother for you. But you are the expert on your experience. So I'm not here to convince you to think any other way other than you do. Every response you have to this change is valid, and I'm not here to convince you otherwise. But it's my hope that when we work together and through the clarity that I'll help bring through this process, that you will come to your own new conclusions or evolved conclusions around what this change means. So having that conversation and just respecting people as adults. I see a lot of people go wrong with change management and with transformation in general when they are trying to convince somebody. And remember what we were saying about change. It will send out threat responses. So if you are entering into a conversation to say, I'm here to change your mind, immediately you're asking.
Yeah, that's the physical reaction. Yeah.
Exactly. Whereas I come in to say, look, I'm not here to change anything about what you think. Everything that you believe is valid because you've got experience, you've got knowledge, you've got insight that I have no idea about. At the same time, I have insight and experience and knowledge that you have no idea about. So let's have this conversation and let's see where we get to at the end of this, because also it's crucial that people understand that I'm there to walk with them through the change. A lot of anxiety can be caused by feeling you're going through something alone. So it's important that I build that relationship, I build that trust, and they understand, actually, I'm here as a trusted partner. We are going through change, not you. We are going through it, and let's work out the best way. Let's use your expertise. Let's use mine. Let's get together so that we can form a way through this that feels comfortable for you.
Yeah. And also that's brilliant. I think you also mentioned to an organization is to amplification of each person, right?
Yeah.
Their reaction and their thought, their fear or of change. So it's about individually how you navigate change.
Exactly.
Yeah, and also you remind me it's actually the same how ourselves should deal with our change in life. It's the first thing is always listen to your own thoughts and be aware, see your own thoughts about this change, not to resist.
Yeah.
That's always the first
Yes.
step.
And I always say, what we do in change management, it's nothing new. But what often happens in corporate spaces is everybody just gets so caught up in the process. So remember how you were saying at the beginning, oh, I thought you'd be more focused on process, which we are. So we do look into, okay, for you to step by step do your job, what does it need? What needs to happen? But we're also there to to press pause and to say, wait, let's see, let's give people time to make sense. Let's give people time to rewrite their story around what their job means and who they are, what their identity is in this evolved version of work. Work can be so overwhelming and you just go from meeting to meeting, it's the same old routine. So change managers, we're also there to provide you with that space to pause and to think and to connect with yourself around, wait, what does this mean for me? How mentally, how am I going to get through this? You might have all the skills and the technique and the tools, but if mentally you are jammed up and overwhelmed, you are not going to execute and you're not going to be present in your role to be able to give the best of yourself. So it's also about creating that space for people to think.
I think it's interesting. So as a change manager, you accumulate so many experience. How do you reflect on your own personal change? I'm pretty sure when you get more experience, when you either you look back your previous life changes, or now you are facing your own uncertainty or changes. You are having more skills or more reflections about it. So can you give us maybe an example how you personally overcome the fear of change?
Yeah, and so what stands out to me, I'll tell you a story. So I got pregnant with my first child when I was 27. 27, yeah. Yeah, and gave birth at 27 as well. I had to do the math. And while I was pregnant, it was also the first time I was a consultant. So I was an associate with Deloitte, and I found that when I was pregnant, I found it very hard to performance manage people because I had this overwhelming sense of this is somebody's baby, how can I tell them that they're not doing, can I? And I really, really struggled. And at that was the first time that I can remember, and I keep going back to, where I had to check in with myself around my approach. Because I had to say to myself, wait, why is this an issue? Is it that you were too stern with people before and you didn't have empathy? Or is it that actually you need to adapt because as a person you are evolving and the way that you view life is evolving, and now you want to adapt the way you lead people accordingly? And so I had to check in with myself around that. And the conclusion that I came to was, yes, I was too binary before. I felt I had a lot to prove as a young leader, and I think I was a lot harsher than I needed to be because I didn't want to come across as, she's just the girl, she's got the team who underperforms, she's just, for people to downplay. So I think I was too harsh. Mm-hmm. And being pregnant, number one, showed me I've got nothing to prove. If I can create and carry a whole human being, I have absolutely nothing to prove. Number two, that my tenderness is also a superpower because I'm birthing, I'm creating life, which is one of the most powerful things that you can do, but it's also exposed this really, really tender side to me. And the two can coexist, you can be powerful and tender. It doesn't have to be either or. And I think before then I was very much either or, and I had to check in with myself around, actually there's lots of seemingly contradictory things that can coexist. And then finally, just being authentic about expressing that. So one of the things that happened when I was pregnant is I had terrible morning sickness all day, every day. I felt very sick in my own body. So I had a healthy pregnancy, but that nausea feeling just would not go. And so I didn't have the capacity to pretend, I just wanted to get through the day however I could, because that nausea was at the front of my mind. And I saw how I was still able to show up in a way that was good enough. I wouldn't say it was my best performance, but I was able to show up in a way that was good enough. So being pregnant, forced me to stop in and check around beliefs I had around myself, beliefs I had around other people, and to work through them. And there've been several other times in my life that I've had to stop. In fact, I consciously, at the end of each project, because I'm an independent consultant now, so at the end of each engagement that I have with a new business, I'll stop and I'll check, wait, what did I learn from this experience? What has been challenged? Are there any biases that I was carrying that have maybe hindered my ability to show up as good as possible? So I have recently come to, my most recent explanation of what I do at the moment is I help leaders connect who they are with how they lead. And the reason why I mention that is because it's one thing to listen to other people and to hear what they're saying. It's another thing to listen to yourself and to tell yourself a story. It's another thing to connect the two. And I find that a lot of leaders, especially very senior leaders, so I work a lot with execs and senior management teams. And when I speak to them one-to-one, the conversation is great. They're so alive. They're engaging people. They are full human beings. And then I see them in all staff meetings and talking to their teams. And I think, where's all the colour gone? It's like they're black and white, they've shown up, somebody's erased all the colour from their personality because they've disconnected who they are from how they lead. And they've let the mask, the kind of black and white, pale mask, take priority and to lead with that. And number one, they're disconnected from themselves. Number two, their teams can tell. Something in us, our spidey senses start going when people are not being who they say they are, We're thinking, And then so we now start thinking, wait, what exactly are they hiding? So my number one piece of advice would be connect who you are with how you lead. Yes, listen to people. Tell yourself a new story, but be bold enough to tell that story to your teams in the way that you behave and in the way that you interact.
I think you mentioned the word identity.
Yes.
And also status. I know there are a lot of models about change management, right? This one is from Williams-Bridges, right? I think that one's quite interesting to me because it's more like from the emotional level, human level. I talk about identity, like change is actually happening externally, but more important is the internal transition. What you just mentioned, right? How can we do that? I think we talk about changes. Actually, I think you also mentioned like we need to prepare something before the change, especially now, before the real change. So can you share something about that point, like how we can do the internal transition and identity transition?
Absolutely.
Writing the new story.
And number one, I'd recommend that you get somebody to help you with this. So even though this is what I do professionally, I will partner with somebody to take me through this process because we are very good sometimes at lying to ourselves. I'll call it out. I was going to say hiding, but I said, no, lying is a stronger word. Let me use it. We can be very good at kind of going around the way and explaining our decisions off. So number one, I would say, whether it's a coach, whether it's your manager, whether it's your partner, but explain that you want to go through this process of transition. You're getting ready for whatever it is, and you just want to check in with yourself. So number one, I think it's really, really important to help to get the help to go through that emotional review. Because what I love about the William Bridges model is it talks about, you're letting go. So there's a period of mourning. You have to address what you're losing. And sometimes it's elements of ourselves. So if I take you back to my pregnancy example, I was losing that very binary version of myself, whether it's yes or no, on, off, this is, and I could have looked at it as, oh my gosh, I'm having a child, I'm completely changing, I'll never get, but no, I saw it as actually I'm evolving, and life doesn't have to be black and white. Isn't it wonderful that we can exist in the in-between?
Yeah.
This is a new way of thinking that's completely opened up. I'm meeting a new version of myself now. And that was really, really exciting for me. So getting somebody to help you and to talk to you about, okay, but why is it you think about that? What is it that you're going to lose? And to help you through that process. And then to also somebody to keep you grounded in the fact that you're in a transition. So oftentimes when we're going through a change, we want to go from A to B. We want to be binary. I'm currently here, I'm going to be there. It doesn't work like that. You have to exist in the in-between, and it's important to have that support and that encouragement when you are in the space in the in-between. So having those conversations, again, it can be with a coach, with your partner. This is what I do professionally with leaders, about how do you exist in the in-between? Because there might be, for other people who are watching this transition, it can sometimes be very confusing. And you want to make sure that you have the tools to still communicate clearly and in a way that makes sense for those that are watching, so it needs to be contained, and so you want somebody to help you with that containment around, okay, but as I'm changing and as I'm existing in this gray area, what does this mean for the other people impacted? And then as you're transitioning into your new you and you're learning new behaviors and you're solidifying your new mindset and your new identity, the confidence to do it. So there's people who have, I think one of your previous guests had talked about being in investment banking and then transitioning to hypnotherapy, and it's like, wait, what's going on here? They're on completely different ends of the spectrum when you look at careers, and it takes boldness to say, look, this is who I am now. She could have made the decision to only be doing the hypnotherapy, on the side, not tell anybody about it, go under a pseudonym, but she fully embraced it and stepped into it. And that's really, really powerful. Oftentimes, that's where people fall short. So they go through this internal transition and then they hide their new them. So they're walking around their corporate spaces, pretending to be who they no longer are, because they feel like, if I show my new self, maybe people won't accept me. Maybe my job will be threatened. Maybe I won't be accepted. You're right. Maybe people won't accept you. Maybe your job is threatened, but maybe that's exactly what you need to move on. We shouldn't be so scared to kind of show who we are that it keeps us bound,
Yeah, because we always say it's not, we don't attract who we want. We attract who we are. So that's the identity thing, right? How we can form the new identity.
Yes.
But like you said, there's the middle phase, or we use the word like neutral phase.
Yeah.
The old is gone,
Yeah.
but the new time, a new identity has not been formed. I think it's especially for some of the entrepreneurial journey, right? Like when you start something new and it's something new already there, but you still didn't see something established. So do you have any, during this stage, what are your advice? Like, it's a special stage of change, I would say.
Yeah, my advice would be to have your support system. It's very...
Is there a word like neutral phase of the different stage?
Exactly. I think it's the neutral zone, I think is what William Bridges says. And it's very destabilizing because you're not who you were, but you're not who you are. It's very, very destabilizing. And so it's really important that we know that in that stage that we're still loved, that we still have support. And so that's my number one thing, is understand who your safe people are. You know, the people who you can show up, no matter how you show up, that you're safe there, because we need that anchoring. We also need safety within ourselves to be able to go on to our new stage. That's what powers us through. Let's put it like that. So my number one is to know who your safe people are. Number two is to know who your unsafe people are. So sometimes we outgrow people, we outgrow situations, we outgrow habits. Leave them behind. This is not the time to try and hold on to them no matter what. There is a season of falling away, and just let it. You know, I've made the mistake of trying to hold on to things that are not fit for where I'm going, and it's just dragged me down. It's been so much more painful. It's taken up mental bandwidth. It's just such a waste. So know who's for you, know who's against you, and sometimes it's those habits where you're against yourself. And my final thing would be, try and document that journey. So if
That's
you
a good
are,
one. Yeah.
if you are having conversations with people, the great thing is with AI now, if you're doing it online, like on Zoom or Google Meet, you know, record the conversations. Or one of my personal favorites is, I don't keep an everyday diary, but I keep a diary with like my visions and my plans, and see how those are evolving around how you see yourself, what your goals are, how they're changing, what's important to you now, what's not. And it's not something that you have to do all the time, but maybe once a month, just check in. You know, you can call it your personal check-in, like, who am I now? What's important to me? And look at that. And the reason why I say that is by giving yourself that time and the opportunity to ask yourself that question. It's you giving yourself that permission that things are going to change. You know, sometimes we don't do that because we think, okay, I'm supposed to stay the same. But creating that space, documenting the journey, is you acknowledging to yourself, I'm on a journey. Things are going to evolve. And this is a beautiful thing. I want to document it, you know, just like anybody who has a pet or a child or a hobby that they're really into, you will know, you document, oh, this is what I'm currently doing. If it's bird watching, this is the bird that I saw today, or my puppy is now 2 months old, because it's beautiful and you want to be able to capture that journey. You are just as beautiful as your hobbies, you know, so document the journey that you are going through.
Next, we'll talk about the word limitless.
Yes.
I think it's also closely related to change. What do you, back to, it's the same question. So what do you think the definition of limitless?
For me, being limitless is about pushing boundaries. So I don't think it's about not having any boundaries, because I don't really think that's realistic. I think with life, there'll always be some sort of boundary, but I think it's healthy to challenge, you know, and to see just how far you can go. You know, so there's two parts to that. Number one, it's recognizing what are the boundaries, and the boundaries can be limiting beliefs. It could be your geography and where you're staying. It could be your friendship group. It doesn't have to be, you know, oh, I want to go to space. It can be, you know, the everyday things that are keeping you limited, you know, i.e. you wake up at 8 o'clock. What more could you achieve if you woke up at 7? Or what more, you know, so there's little ways. And just pushing and seeing what happens when you go beyond the boundary, you know. So that's what being limitless to me is about. Because I think for everyday people, most of us are not trying to go to the moon. Most of us are not trying to be the fastest person in the world. There are people who are gifted and that's their thing. But for most of us, it's just about, actually, how am I keeping myself limited, and how can I push the constraints of my life a little to ensure that I'm more alive, you know? Makes
a step forward. Yeah. Do when I say a limitless person, have you think about someone, thought about someone like in your life, or you think, oh, that's really a limitless person?
A limitless my mum comes to mind when I think about limitless person. So my mum, by profession, is a midwife, and she had 5 kids. I'm one of 5.
Okay.
And she's now retired, but she's an entrepreneur. She's a property investor. She buys and sells clothes. And she's always looking for, like, what's the next thing I can do? You know, some
Yeah.
people would see it as, oh, but you're retired now. Why don't? But she's like, no, I want to buy this land. I want to build. I'm going to purchase this farm. I'm going to, you know. So that for me, when I think about Limitless, my mum comes to mind, very much so, because she's always looking for, actually, what can I do to expand my life to make it more fulfilling, which I think is really, really powerful.
So how could she do that? I'm just curious.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I love you. I love what you said. Like, it's always the next thing. I also think like it's the curiosity, right?
Yes,
Let's
yeah.
always, and also it's keep moving forward, even a small momentum. I think that's really like a limitless. And also, like you mentioned, we're not going to the moon, but the thing is how we can achieve our own, I would say, greatness.
Yeah.
Which we are all born with.
I would say, what's one thing in your life or in your job that makes you unhappy or that fills you with sadness? And if there's one step that you could take today to make a change in that area, like what would it be? And so an example is my mum. I'll go back to my mum. When she was a practicing midwife, she always used to say, you know, I've got one of the lowest rates of complications when it comes to maternal births. Because one thing that grieved her was when there's unnecessary complications when people are giving birth. This should be a time that's filled with joy. So she dedicated herself to being on top of her game. You know, it's little things like making sure that your hygiene is where it needs to be so that you're not introducing infections. And the bigger things like connecting with your patient, educating others, bringing a presence of peace. So before we started recording, we were talking about hypnobirthing and, you know, mindset and making sure that your body's calm before you go into birth. There's something about my mum's presence that's just so calming, no matter what's going on. So walking into the room with that presence, which then the mums pick up on, completely changes the atmosphere. So for somebody who's sitting there and thinking, oh no, I've got nothing that I could do. Okay, what could you do to invite more peace to your life and others? You know, that would be the most simple step. Because also, if we want to connect it to science, we know that when we are filled with more peace and we're not in a state of fight, flight or freeze, we're also able to think more creatively.
Yeah,
we're also
exactly.
able to come up with more intelligent. So just watch what happens when you get out of that negative, because it's a negative mindset of, oh, there's nothing more that I can offer, which is probably closing down the centers in your brain around thinking creatively about what you could offer.
Yeah.
So even if your one step is, I want to change that mindset around myself, and I'm going to do that by filling my body with more peace, which is why meditation is such a big thing now, and see what happens.
What is one limited belief you think you unlearned?
The limiting belief that there's so many, and I'm still I'm still addressing them now. But if there's I think a big one for me is around what work means, you know, that about work having to be hard and serious and, you know, just tough. Overcoming that belief for me has been world changing, because not only has it helped me to enjoy my career more, it's helped me to achieve so much more. So even before lockdown and before we were able to have flexible working, I knew I wanted to have time with my kids. I knew I wanted to not be in the office full time. And so I thought about, well, how could I enjoy my week more and still be a working mum? Oh, I know, I don't want to be in the office 5 days a week, you know? So I think when you push the boundaries of what's acceptable, because at that time, people weren't really working from home. But I knew that if I could work from home 2 days a week, it would be so much better for me and it would be so much better for my child. And it's a small example, but I've seen it happen more and more in my life. In my business, I've now been running my business for 4 years. And it's because I came to a conclusion around, actually, do you know what? I want to work with way more organizations, and I want to be global, and I want to learn things. I want to be challenged each time I'm going into a new environment. And in my permanent place of employment, I'm too comfortable, So in order for me to get that excitement, then me start my own business and go out there. So I can see how overcoming that limiting belief has just opened door after door after door for me, which has been really amazing.
That's beautiful. How did you overcome that? And did you realize when you started to form that belief?
It has its roots to when I was in uni and around what I had to study. So, thinking, I have to study science because that's serious.
Yeah, like you mentioned. Yeah.
So it has its roots in that. And I think maybe social media has something to do with it as well. So, people say social media is a highlight reel. But those people have
what?
highlight reel, so it's just the good parts of people's lives. People say when you are on Instagram, people are just showing the good parts of their life. Yeah, but it still happened. So if you don't have anything to highlight, change your life. And so I think that has fed into my psyche around, well, you only get one life, and how much of it am I looking at, and am I experiencing that is great, versus how much just feels like daily dread that I'm just showing up for. And so my aim is to live a life that is so full and so inspiring, so that I'm inspired by it. I want to wake up and think, wow, I get to live this life, not, oh God, here goes another day. Life is a blessing. It's a gift, and life gives you what you demand. So if you're not enjoying your life, you're not asking enough from it, and you're not asking with conviction, because I think you said it earlier around you attract who you are. I genuinely believe my life should be amazing. I should have good experiences. I should be able to provide value to people. It's an ingrained belief. Nobody can convince me otherwise, but I've had to work to get to that point. And as I've shown up in that, opportunities and my life has, aligned itself around it.
It's beautiful. You said it's like a highlighted version.
Yeah.
It reminded me, I think we talk about with previous guests, I talk about imposter syndrome. All the people think, but it's not good. But actually, from another perspective, if you don't want to be somebody, then it means you are too comfortable, right?
Yeah.
Not in the growth zone. So if we shift the perspective, it also could be a good prompter to change, to grow yourself.
Yep.
I always think this. It reminds me also a quote. I think change is like a prompter. It's all about how we responded to it, right? Still talk about the limitless. So do you have an example like when we all like a limitless leader could be? Like it could be so different, right?
I could go really cliche here and, say a great, Nelson Mandela, Martin Luther King, and they are, hands down, they are really, really great leaders. But in my everyday life, I'm also seeing a number of limitless leaders. And I would say anybody...
Give us an example. Maybe you see how the limitless mindset may change our life.
Yeah,
in a real setting.
Anybody leading a team now, for me, is a limitless leader. And the reason why I say that is change now, the pace of change is it's all consuming, So everybody leading a team now, not only do they have to kind of keep the work going, but at the same time, they're having to innovate and think about how are we faster, better, more connected. And it's a constant balancing act that they're having to go through, and they're constantly having to be faced with the question, am I good enough? What am I doing that's not good enough? That's, if you're working in corporate now, that's embedded question in the way that you show up. There's no more now just showing up and you're good enough. As a leader now, you're constantly being asked, how can you be better? You can be better. How? Show us, prove it. Like that's the environment that people are working with. And I have so much compassion and empathy for anybody leading in that environment now in the corporate space. So for me, that is that's limitless. That's a limitless leader, because they keep showing up. They keep showing up for themselves. They keep showing up for their teams, and they're constantly, remember what I was saying about the boundaries. They're constantly looking for ways to get that bit better, that bit stronger, that bit faster, that bit connected. How can I draw in AI? And I don't think they're given enough credit. I think the everyday leader is not given enough credit. It's not easy to lead in these days. And for those who have taken up that responsibility and are sticking with it, that to me is a limitless, fearless leader.
And back to what you said earlier, I think it's also not wearing mask, like being their true color. That's kind of also their limited belief. When I walk into another room with the team, I need to wear a different mask.
Yes.
I think somewhere in life, they were told by somebody like, I need to wear that mask. But actually, they're the, like you said, when you talk to them individually, they're a real person.
Yes.
So what is one piece you think we can be more limitless in daily life?
Demasking ourselves, taking that mask off and identifying where are the areas of myself that I've hidden because I've believed it's not good enough, it won't be accepted, it's not useful, nobody needs to know that, because I'm a firm believer in authenticity. And I know some people are uncomfortable with the word authenticity now, but really...
Yeah, it's interesting. So what's your definition about it? We do talk about it a lot on this podcast, because I talk with Kim. She is the founder for Authentic Achievement. And she went through big life change, like health crisis. So that really became important start of thinking, leading authentically. But when maybe sometimes it became a buzzword, everybody talking about it. So I'm interested when we say authentic power, what is that?
For me, authenticity is about stopping and thinking about what makes you you. So if I take me for an example, a couple of things that make me me, my obsession with stories. I will obsess everything that ever there was in life. I can bring storytelling and stories to it. That's one of my quirks. I think another one of my quirks is my upbringing and my background. So I explained to you that, I was one of 5. My family, our origin, we're from Zambia. We're first generation here in the UK. That adjustment, like culturally and finding your identity. And I could keep listing all these things that nobody else has exactly as I do. And how do I bring that into the way that I work? How does that reflect in the way that I show up? So for me, authenticity is finding all those things that maybe you would hide away from, or that you'd shy, or you don't want really people to know. And you don't have to tell them. So it's not like in every conversation I say, oh, hi, I'm Zambian, No, but there's a way that I'll relate to you, and there's a way that we'll interact. The storytelling will just come through. And that's what authenticity is. All the things that you'd maybe try and hide, let them shine in the way that you interact with people. Don't try and fit in. My absolute advice would be, don't try and fit in. We don't need another somebody else. We need you.
That's the true power, right? So how do you rewrite that story? Like you mentioned, it's interesting. You have the heritage, like the culture saying when you grew up here. How do you rewrite or if I may say how do you write a limitless story to yourself?
Yeah, you acknowledge them. So it's one thing to acknowledge, look, this is who I am. These are my experiences, but don't be bound by them. A lot of people, we find ourselves holding limited beliefs because we think because I'm X, it means Y. And that's not always how it should be. So I could have said, oh, okay, I'm from a family of 5. I lived on a council estate. Therefore, I shouldn't be a leader. No, For me, it was like, do you know what? I have all these amazing experiences. I was raised on a council estate from a very young age. Pretty much I've known negotiation skills and how to deal with hostile environments. That's what it's taught me. And so therefore I can use those skills within the workplace to, number one, not be intimidated. So, I mentioned I got into leadership when I was very, very young. And it's because I thought, do you know what? I've seen so much. I've experienced intimidation in as a child. You go out, you rough and tumble when you're playing out as children. And it's no different when we're adults. It's still people. So in the same way that I lived through intimidation in the playground, I can live through intimidation in the office and I'll find my way through, So I think that being limitless is understanding everything that you have been through has prepared you to meet the moment and exceed. And that's how I think also authenticity shines. So when I'm going into an interview, when I'm working with leaders, I'm not thinking, oh, I wonder what another leadership development consultant or change manager did with you so that I can copy it. I'm thinking, wait, what can only I bring to this conversation that you can't get from anybody else? Because if they wanted somebody else, they would have got somebody else, but they got me. So how can I bring me to the situation? But oftentimes we're so scared and we are filled with fear around, if I show up as myself, they won't accept me. But I got over that by thinking, okay, what's the worst that can happen? The worst that can happen is they don't accept you. You weren't supposed to be there anyway. Or would you want to stay in an environment where they don't accept you and you're hiding you wouldn't, you have to get to a point where you believe that you are enough. And then the places where you are more than enough will show up.
Sometimes we're just so confined in not believing our power, right? I think a lot of people say sometimes we're not afraid of failure. We are afraid of getting real success.
Yes, yeah.
Being afraid of our own power. Yeah. So, like you lead a team when you were very young, right? A big team. That's a powerful story. Yeah. So let's talk about AI.
Yes.
I know that's a favorite topic. It's beautiful you mentioned, you put a point. Most of the time we complained, like when we work for corporate, we work like a machine. But now the real machine try to replace us. Yeah. It's actually a good opportunity to reclaim your human power.
Yes.
So tell us more about that.
It's a massive opportunity. And so there's been a lot of talk online around AI is here. It's going to take our jobs. It's going to mean that there's, however many 100,000 people who are out of work. It's true. The way that we work will change because of AI, but it will also create massive opportunity for new roles, massive opportunity for us to show up as human beings. So I'll give you an example. You can get most reports. So whether you're an accountant, whether you're a lawyer, whether you're a change manager, most documentation, AI can create it for you. What it can't do is present that report. What it can't do is create the relationship with the client where they even trust what the report is saying. The only person who can do that is a person. So what that means is our communication skills, negotiation, trust building, relationship building, presentation, narrating, storytelling, all the skills that make us human beings and relatable are the skills that for now and for the foreseeable future will be in demand. Any machine, any AI can produce your report, but it can't report it, So that's a massive opportunity. I personally think it's great that the legwork, and let's be honest, most of us, it's not the report writing that we massively enjoy. Yes, there are some people, but even after a few years, you get bored. It's like, oh, I have to do this again. So the heavy lifting of those reports, because even anything that AI does, you have to check it, you have to contextualize it. So AI still isn't even fully replacing things, you know. It will give you a framework, it will give you the outline, but you still have to review it, you have to top it and tailor it, you have to make sure that it meets the demands of the work that you're producing. But most crucially, that free time, the extra time that you would have had to spend to draft that report, invest it in the relationships with your clients, investing in upskilling yourself, invest it in learning how to better prompt AI, prompt engineering, so that the next time it can produce a report that's even better without you having to edit so much. So there's massive opportunity here. But again, it's just about the way that we view things. So if you are invested in believing that AI is going to take your job, that's what's going to happen, because you're not upskilling.
Exactly. You attract that
exactly,
reality, right?
Yeah.
And the fear expanded every day.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Like AI push us to the stage.
Yes.
Like you cannot work like a machine anymore.
Yeah.
Like we have to reclaim our true power. Like you said, communication, human connection. What else? Creativity.
Yeah.
Intuition.
Yeah.
Yeah, your favorite,
Yeah.
storytelling.
Curiosity, you know, to better understand what are our clients' needs, you know, and to dig deep, our questioning skills. You know, there's so much that it opens up the opportunity for us to dig deep into. Why wouldn't you want to seize that?
Is there any real life case?
Yes. So in
You
change
said
management,
like a different company really adopting different strategy.
Yeah. So different companies are approaching this in different ways. So there's some who are being really proactive, and they even have. So I've got a friend who works at an organization in the UK, and his role is to define that a kind of AI culture strategy. You know, like how do we want to embed AI in the way that we work, in the way that we interact. And so at the moment, they've got a very structured way of doing that. They're looking at, well, what's it going to mean to have AI as part of our culture? And then they're training people, and it's very phased, and it's a great package that they're doing. There's other organizations who are just drawing the line and saying, you will not use AI. If you're found to access it on any of our computers, you will be in trouble. And that for me doesn't seem like a very wise approach, because people are still using AI in their personal life anyway. And what will happen is they'll create it on AI and then email it to themselves. But now they don't have the guardrails. So you haven't given them any guidance on how to ethically use it, because there are kind of ethical regulations. You're creating a wild, wild west within your organization, because your prominent view of AI is kind of fear and quite reductive. You know, you're keeping yourself in the past. So I've seen various organizations approach it differently, and obviously it depends what organization that you are in. But one thing that I can say conclusively is that organizations who are embracing AI, generally the culture is a lot more forward thinking, it's a lot more fresh, dynamic, it's alive. And no wonder, because a culture is who you are, right? So it would make sense that they're viewing AI in that way. And the ones who are not, again, their culture maybe isn't as alive, it's a bit stale, and they need to shake things up a bit.
Back to the previous question, I think at personal level, what we could do to regain our power, because we are the one who asked the question. AI is just to answer our request. So how can we cultivate more our power? Like you said, connection, storytelling. What are the maybe tiny steps we can start with?
To get curious. So one thing that I would challenge people to do is to maybe just take a review of your own life and to see where you are already using AI and you didn't know. So a lot of people don't understand, you know, Google Maps, autocorrect. There's so many areas within your life where AI is already being used. It's just you didn't know. And so to look at that. And then the second thing is, as you mentioned, to get curious. Find a platform that you're comfortable with and just start exploring, you know, start asking questions and see the response that you get. It's as far as I know, it's quite safe. You can ask your questions, you can see the responses. Another thing that you can do if you're not ready to actually start using AI yourself is to go on YouTube and type in how is, and then enter your job role. So how are project managers using AI? And watch a video of what other people are doing. How are stay-at-home mums using AI? How are engineers using AI? Put that into YouTube or TikTok or Instagram, wherever your platform, and see how other people are using it. And I assure you, you'll be pleasantly surprised by what you see.
It's like we are walking towards the storm. I think it's the same. We're facing fear.
Yeah.
It's the fear by AI. For example, like we're just walking through it and embrace it, and also by doing all the things, starting to you use the word explore. By starting exploring it, we are getting more familiar with it.
Absolutely.
Especially I see a lot of the advertising push to me. It's always discriminating for those who over 40 who are not. It's always start like that, right?
Yeah.
Who are not using AI.
Yeah.
The teenagers are building company but anyway, I think it's true. Back to our mind, the more you are familiar with it, the more you get ease with it, right? So that's just a natural transition, and you're gaining the power.
Exactly.
And this is the knowledge part, but the human power part, it's also related to what you said a lot, like our own capability, our own limitless nature. We have our talent.
Yeah.
So I guess it's a thing like AI push us to dig inside or inward, I would say.
Yes.
What you truly are. Who are you?
Yeah.
And what you can bring to the world. Like you said, why they need to hire me, right? And what is my core capacity?
Yeah.
Especially those capabilities AI cannot replace, like how I connect with this client, how I can build a real human connection.
And for some people, I get it, it's scary. If you've hidden behind your work for a while, we've all been there where you're clocking in. It might even be that this job that you're doing you're just doing it to get by. It's not the thing that you ultimately want to do. You're just doing it to get by. And now AI is making you have to show up. And you're thinking, I didn't want to be human here. I wanted to be part of the machine. And now it's stripping. It's stripping that back.
Because machine is the easy mode.
Yes, exactly. You're making me go from easy to difficult mode. I get that. And I don't want to kind of belittle anybody who's in that position. But what it does do, and I think one way to frame this is, I think you use the word core capacities or core capabilities. It's helping you to evolve as a human being. So if your job at the moment where you're just part of the machine is just part of your journey and you've got an ultimate goal, start thinking about what traits can I build now on my journey that are going to help me with my ultimate goal. So it might be that you're currently part of a machine in an organization, but you're dreaming of becoming a script writer. Well, scriptwriters still need to understand people. They still need to have a really good read on human beings. And the best way to do that is via conversations. If you are part of the machine, I can guarantee you're not having as many conversations as you should be, which means you're not having as much human interaction as you should be.
Yeah.
The more you up your level of human interaction, the better read of people that you'll get and the better your screenplays will be. So you have to kind of think wider around, well, why am I here in life? What do I want to do? What do I want to achieve? And how can I use my current position to build those capabilities for where I'm going?
I still remember this, I forget where I read it. Like when we talk human, we connect, like there are more neurons are created in your brain, right? It's not like if a baby you give him a screen, like he look at it's some of the neurons are not developed. So they say it's scary. Maybe by 2035, maybe, I don't know. I'm just made it up. There are some human being, maybe half of the brain is like machine. It's a real machine. So still back to, I think it's really wonderful, like how you see this opportunity. You know, in Chinese crisis, the word crisis is consisting of two characters: opportunity or danger and opportunity. So it's always from this situation how we perceive it. Yeah. Any other interesting things when you see recently, especially when working with your client or even your personal connections?
I think the most interesting thing that I'm seeing now is that people really do want meaning from their work, because the boundaries between work life and home life are closing because of hybrid working. So, it's not as, okay, now I'm at work, now I'm at home. It's coming together a lot more.
Now I'm a machine.
Exactly. Yeah, no, it's not like that so much for most people. For some people it still is, but for most people those lines are blurring. And so people want to feel like, since work is part of my life, because before some people would have work in like a steel cupboard, this is work, I'm leaving it over there, I'm not gonna, when I'm living, and that's work. For a lot of people that's not the case, and they want to know, well, seeing as work is part of my life now, I want to enjoy it, I want it to be purposeful, I want it to be adding to who I am as a human being, I want it to feel more seamless, so I want work to form part of my identity as opposed to forming a different identity for work, because it's not that clear which is which anymore. And so I think as people are searching for that, number one, I'm seeing that organizations and leaders are having to be clearer on who they are and what they stand for. So there's studies that have been done that show that if a senior executive is not on social media, people trust the company less because they don't know what to believe around that senior executive. And so what I think the opportunity that creates for the everyday person is to look for, well, what do I enjoy? So the personal transformation that I've gone on, maybe if I would have shared this 5 years ago, people would be like, okay, but that's worked for you. I don't think it can work for me. And I'm happy it's worked for you, but you're lucky I couldn't do that. I think now we're seeing this evolution where everybody is looking at, but how can I enjoy my life more? You were talking about those prompts from AI around people over, the teenagers are making millions using AI and people over 40 are not, because there's this unwritten rule now around, actually, you can make loads of money maybe not working as hard as you think you could. Like, work doesn't have to be hard. You can enjoy it, That's kind of the prevailing narrative, especially as we're seeing kind of Gen Z and newer work, new generations
really
into the workplace.
Thinking,
yes,
right.
Exactly.
It's break the rules, this is the era, break all the traditions, all the rules, all the limited beliefs.
Yes.
So we can think more limitlessly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's like the whole world now is turning limitless in their thinking around work and challenging previous generations' boundaries around what work means. Look at the role of influencers. Who would have thought 20 years ago you'll be paid to wear makeup and talk on a camera, and not paid a little bit of money, paid millions to be an everyday person, and just because people listen to you, they'll pay you millions to talk about makeup. If you would have said that 20 years ago, gamers, especially when I was growing up, your parents would say, don't play games all day. You think you can get a job playing games all day? People are not paid to, well, yeah, now they are. Gamers are paid. It's a profession, And so another thing that has come is the respect for everybody's joy, So the gamer who enjoys gaming, there's now respect put on that. Marketplace value, they're getting paid. The woman who loves makeup, there's market value, they're getting paid. The stay-at-home mum who likes cleaning, a value, respect, she's getting paid, So that's a perfect way to put it. Just limitless thinking about what work means.
Yeah, and it's so brilliant. The joy actually comes from alignment.
Yes.
You mentioned it, I think, on your website, like transformation is not about getting louder.
Yeah.
It's about alignment.
Yeah.
So is it that joy you mentioned?
Exactly. And I think when people, and that's why you have to take that brave step to connect to who you really are, and I call it a brave step because we've all been through things, that have made us become small or hide away from different parts of ourselves. Nobody is unscathed. We've all been through really painful things that have made us hide elements of ourselves, that have made us withdraw. And to face into that pain and to go beyond it and to say, if that painful thing didn't happen, how has it rewired my brain? How has it changed my view of the world? How have I allowed myself to become small because of these painful experiences? And to say, I honor that experience. It happened, but it's no longer going to define me. And I'm going to move beyond it. This is who I am now. It's a painful process. It's a scary process. But if you allow yourself to do that, the alignment that comes and the joy and the purpose, it's incomparable.
Yeah, and also AI give us so much like easy information, right? You can explore your back to the word, explore yourself.
Yeah, massively.
Yeah. Like explore and really dig deeper about yourself.
Yeah.
Find your true joy, the word you use. Yeah, that's massive. I really love it. And also, you mentioned Ageless already. Just now, you said like everybody can start something true really young. So that's brilliant because when we talk about Ageless, previously we think about being like maybe 40 above, we feel a bit stuck, like the midlife crisis, the traditional like perception about Ageless. But of course, we talk about a lot of truly inspiring role model, like the artist I interviewed. She's 73. She literally, a quote from her, she said, "My life just started," and it's brilliant. But you mentioned point about Ageless. It's not too late, but it's also not too early.
Yes.
Tell us more about it.
Yeah, I think the great thing that we're seeing now, with the way work is defined, being redefined, and there literally being no limits. So we are seeing incredibly young people enter industries and own it, own the game. YouTubers, influencers, gamers, they are leaders in their industries, and they can be so young. I think his name is Ryan, and when my first son was young, I think Ryan was maybe 9, he had one of the biggest YouTube channels in the world reviewing toys. Ryan at 8 was a leader in his industry.
Amazing.
Yeah. And so that for me, that Ageless is whether you are on the younger end or you've just began your life or you've seen some things and you've lived many lives, that's no longer that no longer is a way to limit you. It's not a boundary. Age is no longer a boundary anymore. I see age as kind of, oh, okay, that's interesting. It's just, it's another definer. Oh, your hair's straight. Oh, your hair's curly. Oh, you're 52. Oh, you're 9.
Yeah, exactly.
It doesn't limit you in the same way previously. And so I see that in corporate spaces now. I think marketing teams, communication teams, they are having to rethink the way they get messages out because of social media. And because, you could have a 9-year-old influencer who is best positioned to get your message out. It's no longer, oh, we need to go to the MPs or we need to go to the pop stars or whoever it might be. Influence is, you'll find in influence and impact and leadership in all areas of society, in all areas of the world. So I also think there's a massive kind of equality lens here, because we're seeing less and less don't get me wrong, we still have a long way to go, and there's a lot of inequality that we need to face into in the world. But what we are seeing is an expansion in the voices that matter, which I think is amazing.
As if we can see individual like without any limitation, like age is one of them, right? You remind me of I think I heard one of the biggest brand, I think cosmetic brand, they talk to their intern, the youngest member in team every week to get the latest trend of their brand. So I think if a leader can have that mindset, it's kind of ageless mindset,
Yes.
right? Yeah. But at the same time, we still talk about even your 40, 50, 60. I think we see so many fabulous women like who start
Yes.
new things, like start over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Massively. And it's so inspiring. I think everybody has something to give, I think, is what I'm really seeing. When I had a meeting this morning, and I was speaking to a gentleman in my industry who's 75 and creating courses on change management and has global clients. And I said to him, one of the things that I want to do is have a cross-generational conversation around change management, because the things that you've seen in terms of like people experience and how corporate has evolved, I would love to know that. And at the same time, I'm sure there's things that I've seen and the way there's a lens that I have that you possibly wouldn't have thought of. So I think we're in this really great space where the young can learn from the old are learning from the young, and life
And
is
we
more
can
vibrant.
put all the data into like
Yes.
with AI can
Yeah.
give us more like interpretation. We can also draw more inspiration.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's brilliant. Do you have any ageless like mantra yourself?
I don't, but I have a lot of people to look to who I'm seeing, and I just think this is amazing. My mum, for example, being in her 60s and starting her business, and opening that chapter. The gentleman that I spoke to you about, 75, has written his own change management course, has students globally around the world, and I feel like pretty much weekly I'm coming across all these amazing stories. There was a lady, a grandma in Zambia, who went viral because she was modeling kind of couture outfits in the
Okay.
village in Zambia, and then she was flown
Wow.
over to America. I think she was on one of these kind of national syndicated shows.
Okay.
And I was just like, and when I say grandma, I mean, she was in her 90s, posing in
Wow.
couture outfits in a
Wow.
Zambian village. And her granddaughter had taken the pictures, posted them on Instagram, and they just blew up. So every day I'm seeing these just amazing examples of what we would consider ordinary, or you might do something and think, oh, this is not that special because it's just me. We tend to underplay our own brilliance, and overlook our own brilliance and only see
So
it more in
true.
other people, and then it blows up, and then it's like, wow, but it's only me. No, it's you. You're amazing. So that, for me, daily when I come across these stories, I'm just like, wow.
Like Tina, my previous guest, she mentioned if you can see some good traits in other
Yeah.
people, that means it's in you.
Yeah.
You can see that's the reflection. So that's so brilliant. Like it's really the time everyone should put more attention or focus on really exploring yourself, I
Yes.
think. Yeah.
Absolutely.
If I want to summarize, it's like the foundation for being fearless and limitless. And it is so true. It's always like just one step
Yeah.
to be fearless. On the other side, I think sometimes we tend to watch people doing something and be judgmental.
Yeah.
But the thing is, that's the little you getting feared, like you're
Yes.
not doing this,
Yeah.
right? So, but when you are really get to the battlefield, like doing something, really take the action, then I think we will truly get the fulfillment
Yeah.
of doing things, not just consuming content. Yeah, back to this point is like there are consuming content and creating content.
Yes.
I truly believe everyone has the power to create something, like the grandma, like something really unique. It's just you find your joy,
Yeah.
your joy, your alignment point. Yeah, that's beautiful. So I always said like there's no prime time. It's your time.
No, exactly.
Yeah. One word to describe your leadership style.
Compassionate.
One book everyone should read about change.
Ooh. What book
That's a
everyone
good
should
one,
read?
right?
Yeah. I don't know. I could say one book. Okay, I don't know the exact title, but Brené Brown, I think it's on vulnerability, and it's about personal change and transformation.
I think she has a few after
Yes.
the TED Talk,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But yeah, I think it's the power of vulnerability.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Everyone should read that.
Favorite quote about the transformation.
This is not an official quote, but I'm sure somebody said it before me. Let the change change you.
That's beautiful. If change were a color, what would it be?
Blue, because it reminds me of the sky and the sea, and those are always in flux and in flow.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's beautiful. And vast.
Yes.
And the kind of unpredictable.
Yes.
Your personal mantra when facing uncertainty.
It's not hard because I'm doing it wrong. It's hard because it's hard.
Oh, that's beautiful. Because it's hard.
Yeah.
But still I can
Yeah.
go through it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, so now write a letter to yourself 10 years later, like to the version 10 years later. If you want to achieve 3 things or whatever you want to say, it's okay.
My letter to myself would be enjoy it more, be easy on yourself, and do more of what you love. Yeah, do more of what you love. Doing what you love will open the doors you're currently trying to kick down. Don't kick them down. Let the love attract those opportunities.
Sorry, what's the third one?
Okay, so the first one is do more of what you love. The second, be easy on yourself. And the third would be take your time. Don't rush. Yeah, take your time.
This is actually also the next question, like what you would say to the 20-year-old self, yourself.
Calm down.
Calm down.
I've always been, like a high energy. This is what I need to do, like very goal driven. And it's important to have goals, but they shouldn't consume you. Pause to actually enjoy life. Life is not made of goals. Life is made of living and
enjoy.
Exactly.
Enjoy. Yeah. Especially, I think, such a chaotic, like fast changing world, right? I think slowing down is the power.
Yeah.
It's what I think we'll be talking about is the whole episode, like how to slowing down and finding more focus and priority about exploring yourself.
Exactly.
Like getting inward, getting your true joy, right? What is one bold move you will make or you are thinking about to make in 2025?
A bold move. I want to do a speech. I want to speak on a stage. That's one bold move that I want to make.
Okay. What's the topic about?
I want it to be on connecting personal and professional transformation, because that's all that I do. Oftentimes we have personal development in one box and then we have professional development in another box. We need to start bringing them together if we're going to lead these fully aligned lives. So yeah, that's what it will be on.
Yeah, it's like integrated, right? Like working life, and it's not about a very clear boundary or different like channels.
Yeah.
I think I read a beautiful Rumi poem. It's all about the moment. Like we are living, we should live the life like flying from one moment to another moment, like truly being present. Yeah, truly being present. And also you mentioned speech. I think it's interesting. Really, a lot of my friends, our goal or wish mostly like we want to share more. I think it's also the time when I think also age and life experience has brought us a lot of reflection. I would say wisdom. So we want to share with, could be speaking and also maybe just posting. But I think I feel like the whole humanity, we are getting more and more conscious of sharing, empowering, and inspiring other people, the human connection. because of the machine pushes
Yeah.
there.
Which is beautiful.
Which is beautiful, exactly. So my last question, in Women in the Penthouse, we want to redefine the Penthouse Rule. So Penthouse is more traditionally limited to like material, right, consumerism or like material affluence. So we want to redefine the Penthouse life, like when we have inner compassion, love, courage, truth.
Yeah.
About ourselves, then our mind, that's our penthouse mindset. So every guest will leave one penthouse rule at the end. One. You can pause and think and give us one piece, one penthouse rule.
Create space for who you are in the moment. And the reason why I say that is, especially if we're experiencing negative emotions, society has conditioned us that only certain emotions are acceptable. We have to show up in certain ways. And of course, not every conversation, like it might not be appropriate to cry in that moment, but give yourself permission to just feel what you feel. So it might be you go home and you didn't get the job that you hoped, or a conversation that you hoped didn't go, give yourself space to feel that disappointment, to feel that shame, to feel that, and to work through it. I think one of the great things about a luxury lifestyle is luxury of a healthy mindset, a healthy mind and emotional environment. So regardless of where you are, because sometimes, also Penthouse, the assumption is, everything is going well, everything's great. But no, allow yourself to feel, even if from the outside looking in, it might look like, but why is she being ungrateful? You've got all of this. Why are you sad? No, don't worry about that. Give yourself the space to feel what you are feeling and to kind of work through it.
Yeah, that's perfect because it's a space.
Yes.
So you can hold that space for yourself.
Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much, Nissi. I think it's wonderful to have you here and this inspiring conversation. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay.
Oh my gosh, that was... Thank you.
Okay, thank you. If these stories resonate with you, please give us a like and subscribe to this channel. Your support doesn't just boost our podcast, it amplifies the voice of incredible women and creates a ripple effect of inspiration. We'd love to hear your stories, so leave us a comment and give us a like and connect with us with our social media on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Until next time, keep rising, keep rewriting, and owning your penthouse life. I'll see you next time.